Hello, everyone. It's Dylan from Yugioh Everything, and welcome back to another Yugioh VRains episode review. And boy, oh boy, do we have an amazing beginning of Season 3 to go over. Some crazy stuff is happening in Yugioh VRains right now. I am joined by my friend Pete for this review. Pete, how you doing?
I'm doing good. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, no problem, man. And so I'm going to give my thoughts for a bit, and then Pete is going to give his thoughts. We're going to just talk about the whole direction of Season 3, and we've reacted to Opening 3. Me, Pete, are my two friends, Nick. They're both named Nick, so definitely check that out on the channel. Gave our initial breakdown of that. We definitely will be doing a more detailed, in-depth analysis of that opening at some point in the future, so stay tuned for that as well. But episode 103, it was a recap, but it was definitely the best recap we've had so far. I didn't have really any issue with the premise of an episode that is transitioning the end of one season and the beginning of another season being a recap. That to me is not an issue at all. So when this episode summary first came out and it seemed like that's the direction they were going, didn't really think anything of it. I didn't think it was an issue. But even though this was a majority recap episode, they sprinkled in some amazing things. And of course, the most incredible twist that this show seems to be doing is that I is going to have his own human form along with Robopi. We saw it at the end with the graves. I'm just kind of skipping around. And I, based on the opening scenes, seemingly is going to be the main villain of this show going forward, which is absolutely insane. Now, there's a few reasons as to why that can be. I personally think it would be incredible if I was aware the whole time that his goal was to go against humans, was to maybe even destroy humans, and all those notions of the dark Ignis, all the thoughts that Revolver had, that Faust had in that one duel, which I always thought was kind of weird. It was all accurate, and I had this great deceptive role where he was pretending to be much more, and I think we've said it before on podcasts and on discussions, where I pretends like he's kind of clueless and he's aloof and he doesn't really know what's going on. But now all of a sudden, we're seeing the true I in this form carrying out his master plan. And if that's the case, and we were duped for the first 102 episodes of this show, that would be an incredible, incredible plot twist. And the hints when we saw right before the Mirrorlink VRains incident happened, where he says, I'm really starting to hate humans, the little hints that we can look back at, the foreshadowing, it would be incredible if that's the route they are going to go down. Now, there's other ways they could do it. I maybe is just getting very desperate because all of his friends are dead, and this is the only way, whatever. We don't know his motivations, and that's why we're going to be speculating pretty majorly until next episode, where it looks like he's going to duel Queen, which is kind of crazy. Here's a little theory that I is going to win that duel and is going to take over Soul Technologies, which, by the way, Soul Technologies is creating these human AI hybrids, mass producing them, putting them in people's homes and on the streets. Even Aoi makes kind of a snide comment where she's like, yeah, you're not going to have to work in this mundane hot dog truck anymore because a robot will be able to replace it thanks to my brother. And Yusaku's like, that would not be good. And Yusaku's right. Like, once robots come and replace a lot of these, even in the real world, a lot of these, hand jobs, factory jobs, like, that's going to put a lot of people out of work. And it's definitely not something that I think most humans are really looking forward to, unless, of course, you're in robotics or quantum mechanics or, in that field and moving that field forward. Anyway, getting a little off topic, though, we don't know Ai's motives. We don't know his motives. And maybe he's just getting desperate because his friends are dead. There's a lot of things that it could be, but it does look like I and Playmaker, especially based off the opening, are going to clash, and that is going to be incredible. Another thing to note is I don't think I is going to have that same jokey voice that we are used to him having. I is voiced by the same man who voices Suzaku in Code Geass, who has an incredible voice, a very good voice, and I think that he will be able to shine in this role. You have I as the goofy voice, and now you have the human I as this stoic, normal human voice, and I think that's going to be I think his voice acting skills are going to be on full display, so I'm really excited to see that as well. Something I did not love about this episode was Miyu. It was great to see, don't get me wrong, it was great to see Miyu resurrected and reborn, basically. That's not what I had an issue with. But Aoi visits Miyu, and we missed out on that scene entirely. All Aoi says to Yusaku in the truck is, yeah, so I ran into an old friend at the hospital. That's why I'm at the truck, because the truck is close to the hospital. You didn't show us that scene? Really? Aoi and Miyu reuniting, which was for Aoi's character such a big motivation for her in season 2, such a big driving plot point. I thought that was kind of a shame, and I didn't even realize it personally until after the episode ended. I was like, yeah, she went and saw Miyu, and they didn't even show us that scene. I feel like we kind of got robbed of that interaction and dialogue, so that was a bit of a shame. They're still not telling Aoi who they are, Yusaku and Homura. Hopefully that will happen at some point. Another aspect of this episode that I thought was really well done, Revolver and Soulburner. The dynamic there, the mini rivalry, it's even hinted at the end of the opening, the difference in ideals between these two, and the fact that they are still clashing. I was very worried that after this whole Mirror Link VRains stuff, that Revolver was going to come back and say, you know what, the Ignis are forgiven. They're really not that bad. It was all Lightning's fault. But I'm glad he's still sticking to his morals, still sticking to his guns, no pun intended, if you will. And Revolver continues to be such an enjoyable character. And if I turns out to be someone who is trying to enslave the human race or destroy Playmaker or, whatever his motivation and master plan is, and it is for humanity's downfall, Revolver was right the whole time, which is amazing. Usually the rivals, they know what they're talking about. So loved how there is still that argument and disparity between those two. Overall, really loved the episode, loved the interactions, the small amount that we got. I was a little disappointed in being robbed of the Miyu and Aoi connection, but yeah, I enjoyed the episode quite a bit. Pete, what did you think, and what do you just think about the seemingly massive plot twist that is happening in Yu-Gi-Oh! VRains?
Yeah, overall, it's a solid episode. It's a recap. So, there's nothing insanely crazy going on. Yeah. However, the moments that we get that are not recaps, the new dialogue, the new interactions, yeah, they're fairly interesting. They get the ball rolling, per se, here for Season 3. I do agree in some way with the Miyu stuff there with Aoi. However, I feel like we're going to have a lot of interaction between those characters going forward. I find it would be very odd if, we never have serious scenes with them going forward. So, yeah, you would like to see as soon as she wakes up how first seeing Aoi when she walks in the room of, how that works out. We didn't get it. It's okay. I'm all right with it. Love Revolver here, and the Inspector's there, but he obviously doesn't really say anything in this episode. I do like that he doesn't put the Ignis kind of prejudice, I would say, to rest. That it's still a problem with him. Hey, 5 are dead. There's still 1 left. He has a mission. He promised, even though he didn't totally agree with his father's plan, and it wasn't a lot of way his father's fault, he's cleaning up his father's mess, and he's sticking to his principles, to the Knights' principles of that they are a major threat to humanity. Look at what literally just happened, and now there's 1 left. And he seems like he's going to be right if if that ends up being which it looks like it is, and he ends up being the main villain of Season 3. Mm-hmm. So Revolver was right this entire time. That until we get rid of all of them, they will always be a threat to humanity. Yeah. So I really did like that there, and definitely hinting from that scene and the opening that him and Soulburner are going to go at it again.
Yeah, definitely. And that's going to be a great duel.
Go at it.
And that is going to be an incredible duel.
Yeah.
Especially after everything that's happened now. Can't wait.
And I still stick by, even if they have this rivalry again where they're not on the same side, once again, the Ignis and artificial intelligence are going to put them on the same side again. And I like to see that dynamic. Is it great to see him as a rival? Yeah, but we saw that all as Season 1. And it was great, but we saw it. I want to see them together again. The group back together. We get that awesome shot in the opening of all of them in their real life form. Spectre's there, Revolver's there. Yeah. So I want to see more of those interactions, and I really think they could be a good solid team. Maybe they could even be friends or friendly-ish, but there's a little bit of tension between them by the end of the show.
Acquaintances.
Yeah, but good acquaintances.
Okay, solid acquaintances.
At least a work buddy.
Okay, a work buddy.
So
work buddy level. I'll take that.
I want to see something like that. We get a little bit of Kusanagi's with Jin. He's back in the hospital again. Hopefully he won't be kidnapped or brainwashed or something else. I would like to see some development from Jin going forward. Because think about it. Beside being a tortured character, we don't really know anything about him.
Jin not in the opening at all? Also?
Not at all. But I feel like there'll be something there. I mean, we only had one shot of Kusanagi in the opening of just him angrily driving the truck down the freeway. so you're gonna get more Kusanagi scenes.
Yeah,
and in this episode, the only scene we got of him is him literally waking up in the truck, and the night's already left. But yeah. Overall, it was a recap episode. It was fine. By far the most telling scene at the end was it looks like it's the destroyed Cyberse world. You have the 5 graves of the Ignis. Even Lightning gets his own grave.
Permanent deaths for now.
Probably permanent deaths still.
Crazy.
If they ever bring him back, it's probably literally the last episode of the show.
Later. Or imagine they bring him back in like human form.
You never know. Somehow I gets in control of Soul Tech, and so he's able to like revive the technology to bring back a version of them. I mean, you never know. We're talking artificial intelligence, so anything's really possible. But it feels very obviously purposeful that the one thing I didn't understand is like Soul Tech is making this line of like AIs that are going to be doing basic activities, very iRobot like in your home.
Yeah.
After everything they've seen, where an AI literally almost in Bowman and Lightning for that matter destroyed the world and literally killed everyone for a matter of fact that all their consciousness would be in Bowman.
Right.
How do they think it's a good idea creating a line of mass-producing AI?
But is that not such a great representation
of humanity?
Of corporate greed?
Oh, absolutely.
It's perfect. It's so quintessential corporate greed.
That's a good word there.
Thank you.
But
I pulled it out.
No, but it really is, because just like we saw in the previous the 4-episode duel, where people's curiosity got the best of them when they started, logging into the link of VRains, even though they knew it was dangerous in there, they just didn't believe it, right? That was typical humanity, and Bowman used that to his advantage. I thought that was actually a great speaking of who humanity really is.
Absolutely.
Right? It's like when everyone gathers, as you said, for a car accident, right?
But no one helps.
Yeah, everyone's nosy, but no one ends up helping. They might, maybe they'll call 911, but they're not going to go in there and help anyone.
No.
It's the exact same thing. And in this case, it's in Soul Tech's mind, they're probably like, hey, if we create basic AI, not high-level AI, basic AI that do basic activities, we can make a serious profit off of this.
Look at what I was able to do to a basic AI in Robopi.
Right. But they don't realize that because, again, from their perspective, they don't know I's still alive.
I think Queen is going to realize it when...
Right. If you,
episode.
even though the pigeon and the frog were gone by the point that I sacrificed himself, but to everyone else watching... I mean, at that moment, if someone happened to log on and somehow see it or hack it, all 6 Ignis died.
Yeah.
So you wouldn't think that there's a high-performance AI out there to do this.
Yeah.
Now, the way Soul Tech sets this up is they can set it up to where, regardless of I gets in control of Soul Tech or anything else, if he has the ability to do that to Robopi, he can literally create an army of basic-level AIs to do his bidding, like almost like bit and boot-like.
Yeah.
He could do that everywhere.
Yeah.
And it's just, it speaks to that corporate greed of, it's a horrible, horrible decision. And Yusaki says that in this episode.
But it makes some money.
And to have that scene of, it looks like in the destroyed Cyberse world, maybe his theme music, maybe it's just a mix of like howling, like wind for the destroyed world. We don't know yet. We'll have to see going forward. But I'm always a sucker for theme music and stuff like that. And to have what is definitely Robopi as the other person. Has to
No
be.
question.
You make that... Yusaku's saying in this episode that neither of them have come back, and you see Robopi's like lifeless, like robot body in the house. That is definitely the two of them, and then goes into the preview where you see that he is dueling Queen. I mean, I don't even know what I'm trying to comprehend what his motivations are going to be.
I don't know.
Where he's going to explain it to Yusaku.
Yeah,
because to me, I could think listen, he's maybe blaming Soul Tech. He's getting revenge for his friends. People like Bowman, who really killed his friends. I mean, he's dead now.
Yeah.
So who else do you take it out on? The people who created, who had a hand in creating the Ignis. Right? So I could see where he's coming from there. What I can't see is from the opening there, it seems like he's going to turn against his friends, and in particular Yusaku.
Yeah.
What's that motivation? And the only thing I can think of is that, and I said to you this, and 102, they make a specific point, I think twice, that a backup is a risky move, and they go, oh, well, glad it worked out. And they say, yes, but you cannot come back almost the same way that you were before. There's no guarantees. And I think At first, I thought, and Yusaku thought, that he came back exactly the same person. They got lucky. And then over time, he noticed that he was changing. And that there is maybe the part of him that was the bubbly, kind of loose, kind of not caring side, that's gone. And now the seriousness and the emotional side of feeling the weight, the guilt of what he did, of where Bowman said, hey, you're going to have to live with that guilt. You have to really live with the choices you made, that in some ways the actions he caused ended up killing his friends, even though it was kind of a no-win situation. And I think that guilt, that feelings, they've overwhelmed him.
Yeah.
And that's what's going to turn him further.
Yeah,
that's kind of my long thoughts there.
Yeah, no, that was great, man. It's just so fascinating as to what's going to happen. And I think this is really good for the humans of Yu-Gi-Oh! VRains. I think this is great for Yusaku because up until now, and it's risky, because up until now, Yusaku has always had I to be that emotion, to be that personality.
Comedic character.
That's gone now.
Yeah.
And so a lot of people, we just had Legendary Duels on last Saturday on the podcast talking Yu-Gi-Oh! Into the VRains. If you want more of that, 3 p.m. Saturday, every Saturday.
Solid plug.
And he said, I don't really like Yusaku, but I like I a lot. Yeah. There's a lot of people like that. Because I gave Yusaku a little bit of personality that he didn't have. Now that's gone. So now Yusaku is going to have to carry himself and carry the show to a degree. And Aoi without Aqua, that won't be as drastic as I think like Homura without Flame. We haven't seen Homura without Flame yet.
That'll be very different.
So these characters are now, especially Homura and Yusaku, are going to have the chance to shine on their own accord without their Ignis, not necessarily holding them back, but also sharing the limelight with them. Right. And so I'm very, very excited to see where their characters go from here.
And even though it was part of the recap that they were showing us, like how Homura, got there, how he got back into dueling, how he heard about Playmaker. That was specifically shown because it's the two of them. It's Yusaku and Homura talking about their losses.
Yeah.
And what has happened and how they're going to move forward without them. Mm-hmm. And even though I is still alive, Playmaker said, listen, after the battle, he wasn't really a hostage anymore. He was free, and then you have, again, they cut back to that scene where they were outside the truck when they were getting ready before they went in the Mirror Link VRains. He said, hey, if we win this, you guys should go free. You should do your own thing, and that's exactly what I was doing. Not what Yusaku had in mind.
Well, because they're going to clash.
That's exactly what's going to happen, and I believe, unless I is drastically changed, his intention is not to go after Yusaku or any of them. I think the way it's going to work out is our heroes are going to go, oh, this is not only a threat, but he's not doing the right thing. This is not what you're supposed to do. And then I is going to take that as, okay, now someone is challenging me that, listen, I believe in my heart to avenge my friends. This is what I have to do. And if you stand in my way, then I'll take you out. Yeah. I think it's going to be a conflict like that. His intention is to focus on Soul Tech, but it's going to bring everyone else in. Through Akira to Aoi, then to Isaku. It could go that, even Emma in there too.
I'm not even really disappointed. Queen wasn't even in the opening, unless you want to think that android-looking robot is Queen after I beats her, which
is possible.
Wouldn't even surprise me.
So Yugioh.
But I'm not even really disappointed that I didn't expect Queen to be the main antagonist. I said it the last podcast.
It's kind of disappointing.
They're not. It is disappointing, but honestly, this plot twist, I absolutely love. I am so excited for next week's episode. I'm so excited to see where the show goes from here. So I don't have any issue with it at all.
Now, can I ask you something?
Yeah, absolutely.
You don't have any issue with it, you say, but can you see people out there going, we just had an entire arc where they're fighting AIs, they're fighting Ignis, they're fighting a creation of an Ignis. Now we're doing that again. Can you see people out there saying, maybe this is repetitive?
I think I can see people saying that, but I think that's why they gave I and Robapi human forms. Yeah. Because you're going to forget at a moment's notice, oh yeah, these guys are an artificial intelligence. But also, I think it's a lot deeper than that because this is the second, some people would argue this is the deuter protagonist of the show.
Yeah.
This is the secondary protagonist of the show, all of a sudden now being evil with his own motivations. So I don't think that's going to be the case. And honestly, I think it's I think this whole show is almost a foreshadowing for where humanity is going in general with artificial intelligence, with that taking over jobs in the world. I mean, I know it might sound crazy.
No, I don't like robots. So
it does scare me how these robots are starting. I know it sounds conspiracy theory.
Yeah, but it's really not.
No, and like that's why I've always loved to that degree the almost like hyper realism of this show.
Yeah,
in that
they've always done a great job of that.
Yeah, so
I love though the build up though of like if this is the direction that I would imagine they had an idea where they were going this whole time.
Mm-hmm.
All those little random scenes between I and Robopi now connect back to this.
And it's like, oh yeah, it's a cute comedic. No, it's not.
Like
that cute little fun scene. Look at who's taking over Soltech.
All those times that he was giving her greater intelligence. All those just scenes of them interacting and becoming closer. Now you see where that leads.
Yeah,
I think that's very interesting.
Yeah,
and it makes you, if you go back and watch those scenes, it gives you a different perspective now. Mm-hmm. Assuming that it's going to go the way we think it's going to go for this season.
Yeah.
It gives you a different change.
I just love when shows do that, man. I
do.
I mean, what do you think of the twist?
I like it.
I like it a lot.
I do like it a lot, and I will like it a lot more if I definitely think, and it better, in my opinion, I better not have the same voice that he did as Ignis.
Like, no. He better have close to Suzaku's
It better be
voice,
completely different. Same for Robopi. And on top of that, I want them to have a little bit different of a personality. I don't want his human form to just be a different voice, but it's that same kind of. I want
him to be serious.
Him to be serious. Him to be different.
Yeah.
Maybe a little twisted.
Yeah.
And I want there to be more consequences of maybe the backup helped you beat Bowman in that moment, but it changed the eye, and now it created another threat.
Yeah,
and it did kill the eye that we knew that Yusaku knew.
Yeah.
I think that could be really cool.
I think so too. Well, guys, I mean, we've talked for a while. Our episode, I'll probably title it Episode 103 Review and Season 3 Theories or something along those lines. So, Pete, thank you for joining me, dude.
Thank you for having me. Always fun.
No problem, man. I'm glad you had a good time. And I'm really excited. I've been cold turkey for about 24 hours offline, so I'm very excited to hear from all of you and all of your thoughts down below. A special thank you to my Platinum tier patrons, Alexa Baker, Glen McGookin, Jorge Carrillo, James Rose, Samuel Stark, Thomas Adderley, Horace Maye, Goosey Q, Vincent Van Der Veen, Rexkentrix, and Brian Ford, and to my Diamond tier patrons, Jesse Wood and Garrett Palmer, and to my Egyptian God tier patron, Chris Swan. A huge thank you to everyone who supports me over on Patreon. I cannot tell you how much it helps me out. And a huge thank you to everyone who just watches these videos, because without you guys, would not be able to do this. Leave all your Season 3 thoughts down below. I hope you enjoyed the discussion. And talk to you guys down there. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have an amazing day.
See you guys.
Thank you guys. All right. Thanks, man.